Are you ready? So next session is also related to accessibility. And the next session title is Automating Accessibility Adoption in Flutter with Gemini AI. And it will be presented by Akanksha Singh. Please give a big round of applause to her.
Minasan, konnichiwa. Namaste, everyone. My name is Akanksha Singh, and I'm here to present on the topic automating accessibility adoption in Flutter using Gemini AI. So we already had a talk on accessibility, and I think everyone now knows, even if you didn't have that much information on accessibility, now that you know why it is important and a little bit about it. So my main aim would be to help you in making your apps more accessible and making this process easier using AI. So let me start with a quick intro. So I'm currently a software engineer at JP Morgan Chase, and I came all the way from Glasgow, Scotland. I'm a Women Techmaker Ambassador and a Flutterista like Manuela and Renuka, and others present here who want to join Flutterista should definitely reach out to us. Apart from this, I love doing hackathons, and I've been part of communities from quite some time back in university and in my city. So a community builder, mentor, and speaker. So that's about me. Let me ask you a very random question. So you see this number on the screen. I would like you to make some guesses. Before that, let me make some guesses for you. So maybe this number can be the number of origami cranes that are folded every year. It can be, right? I mean, that's possible in Japan. Or it can be the number of ramen bowls that are consumed every month. That's also possible, right? Another guess would be the number of vending machines. Is that possible? Maybe. Anyone has any other guesses? Yeah?
The current app on the store, they're using Flutter.
That might not be possible. But yeah. So what this number actually is, it's the current population of Japan. And if we multiply this number to 63, which makes the current population of the world, which makes the 16% population of the world, that has certain kind of disability. So you can assume how big this number is and why it is so important to consider this population and tackle the issues that they face in their daily lives while they are using their apps. And because you are developing, you want everyone to use your apps and be comfortable with using them. So you can imagine this number is huge. And carrying forward the thoughts of Manuela, how accessibility shouldn't be an afterthought. It should be something that you should start from the beginning. The agenda of this talk would be just tell you about why accessibility, the common challenges that we as a developer face in making or writing accessible code, shift left and why, and then we will look into Gen AI and accessibility and how it can help us make this process optimal, and then I'll conclude the talk. So another thing I would like to point out, you must have seen this on the roads, right? So do you know like how did they originate? Anyone knows? Okay, so basically they were first implemented in US, and it was after the World War II when the disabled veterans returned home and they were finding it hard to actually walk on the roads. So these were for wheelchair people. But after that, like, it was useful for people with trolleys or people using bicycles. So you can see like how this effect, it's called curb cut effect. And when you try to make something accessible for someone, it might also become accessible for other set of people that you didn't know that it might be. So yeah, that's the curb cut effect. It's a concept that was popularized by a disability right activist. And yeah, so now that you know how, if you make something accessible like your app for certain kind of users, it might make it accessible for even more users as well. So as developers, what challenges do we face in writing accessible code? Why some of us might ignore it? So one reason is a lot of us lack the awareness and the training, a lot of us don't know how people with disability use their apps or how they use screen readers, and a lot of us aren't aware about a lot of standards and a lot of things that we can do to improve our code. Another challenge is the complexity of standards. So WCAG guidelines, if you see, there are, it is just basically a lot of text, which is not just for developers, it is hard to comprehend sometimes. There are not that many examples. And if you think about designers, I mean, it will be even harder for them to read and go through those guidelines and try to make their designs more accessible. Another challenge that we face is testing and validation. So before this talk, like I have spoken to a lot of people about regarding this, and one question that everyone comes up with is how they can start testing initially, how they can bring people with disability or like get them to use their apps from the beginning. So that's something everyone struggles with, and there are things that you can do to probably make up for it. But yeah, that's one challenge that we face. Another challenge is if you already have an app, it might not be accessible, it might be a huge code base, and to go through it and try to integrate accessibility in that, it can also be a challenge. So those are a couple of challenges that we as developers face. Now talking about like why we should shift left. So even though these are the couple of challenges, but if we like go shift left, which is a concept adopted from Agile, where we try to, like from the beginning, we try to test everything and like with the requirements, with the design and everything. So that will definitely improve the process and it will make it more efficient. So the concept is basically test everything, test every time, test early and continuously. So that's basically what the shift left accessibility approach is. And this can be made easier if you use AI tools. I mean, we already use it for coding. A lot of things have been like optimized when we use AI, generative AI. So for those of you, like just a quick overview of what generative AI is. Basically, it's a subset of deep learning, and it is trained on large data sets, and it is capable of generating text, image, video, audio, and everything. And in natural language processing, like you can ask something and you will get the answer to it. So can Gen AI help us in writing accessible code? Well, where do they get the data from? That is more important. So if we ask Gemini where they get the data from, so it's mostly publicly available web content that includes articles and licensed data as well, user contributions, and Google's own knowledge base. About ChatGPT, so it gets the training data, which is a huge text of data, and it's like September 2021, the data that was there. The recent models like will have updated one. So this is where they get their data from. But for accessibility standards, like they keep on like revolving. So every year there must be some update or something. So how can we use generative AI for accessibility? So first thing we need to ask is if these chatbots, like these models, are aware of the latest accessibility standards, and if yes, then how accurate and how much they know about it, and how much they can actually comprehend and answer the questions related to accessibility. So if you ask ChatGPT about the latest accessibility standards, so you can see they are able to fetch the data, the latest data, and they are able to answer questions regarding the latest accessibility standards. Now let's see about Gemini. So you can see November 2023 is the latest data that they have. So you can then ask everything about like different standards and different levels, and they should be able to answer those questions. So in terms of Flutter, if we ask Gemini or ChatGPT about just a simple code, like if it complies to WCAG standard, so this is something that ChatGPT would return. So it basically gives you complete, like for every component, it will return if the color contrast is good or not, or if it has the semantic label or not. Let's see, for this one, let's see the response of Gemini. So Gemini would basically say that it is difficult to say, like it doesn't want to, it wants you to do some more research on your side as well, because I mean, AI, for everything we cannot rely on it. It definitely knows the standards and it will guide you, but for a certain set of code, it might say that it is not completely sure or things like that. So yeah. So now, can Gen AI help me in writing accessible code? The answer is yes. But if you are smart enough to trust every answer that you receive from it, and if you know how you can verify that thing, that these generative models, like what they're returning, you also need to verify it on your end, and you must be having some information about the things as well. So let's see, like how, if we want to use Gen AI, how we can use it in our daily like coding, and what tools we can use. So I mean, everyone must have used GitHub Copilot, and ChatGPT we can use, Gemini definitely. So if we want to focus more on accessibility, we do need these models to be trained with the latest accessibility standard data and the examples, because without them, because there's a lot of data, and what I have experimented, like asking questions and they just get confused with the very simple thing I'll show in the demo. So yeah, so I basically tried building a VS Code extension, which will be using Gemini AI API, and it will try to like you can directly in the IDE you can ask the questions about if the widget is accessible or not, and you can even ask for suggestions and things like that. So yeah, my OBS Studio for some reason was not able to record, so I had to record it on phone. Let me play this. It's just a simple example. You can see a container, and if I check for color contrast, so I can even ask for like a suggestion on the color contrast. So it will tell if the background color and the foreground color is this, and I can even ask it to replace it with the corrected code as well. So we'll see that in demo, but let's see how this actually works. Go to the next slide. Yeah, so let's see how this kind of extension would basically work. And it uses the Google AI SDK and the Gemini API. So to use it, like we will import their Google AI SDK. And it is also, it is dependent on the prompt that you provide. Like for everything, for a couple of things that I tried, it depends a lot on the prompt that it is gonna make, the whole prompt. So if you see, like here I've given a prompt, like some context about accessibility label. So it says check if the Flutter widget has appropriate semantic label or not. I've given an example, good example and a bad example. So it depends a lot on this prompt that you give. And after you have some accessibility, you have given some like context to it, you will get the API key, which will be stored locally in the settings.json file. And then the longer context, then you fetch the API and the model. So the model is Gemini Pro. And then basically how it is working is you select a text, and then you like run the command, which is to either suggest if it is like it has the color contrast or not, or it can also replace it. So that's what basically it is doing. It will fetch the text from here, and then it will pass the full prompt to the API, and that is basically where the code will be generated or the suggestion will be generated. And if you see here, then it will either replace, like it will add the comment just above the widget that I selected, or if I want to replace the code, it will replace the whole widget. So I'll show a quick demo. I don't know how it's gonna do, but it's not my fault, it's Gemini AI, and I'm not sure about the prompts, but let's quickly see how it works. So, yeah, VS Code. It's
Okay. I guess it's first means.
if I minimize. Okay, no? Okay. It wouldn't go.
Do you know, can you stop first screen?
Yeah.
Probably. Okay. Then yeah. Then give this VS Code to the right side. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Let me get this window there as well. Yeah, so now it's visible. So you will see that this was generated. Now let's see for this, like for icon button. And if I select and go here for the commands, so here I can check if it has the accessibility label or not. So yeah, right now what it's doing is it will just return me a good example or bad example, which is from the prompt. But basically what it should have done is either replace the code with the corrected code. So that's something I think it depends more on the prompt, how it was given. I tried a couple of things. Another thing, if you see here, it has, for this container, if you see, if I try to replace the code, so even though this color contrast is good, so you will see like this is the kind of analysis it gives, and it is also more dependent on the, like right now it's not at the best stage, like how I have given the prompts. For some like semantics, and it might give the correct code, and even for this it was giving, but yeah, like you can see I have given couple of options for different things, like so what we have is like checking the color contrast. It can either replace the code, or checking the accessibility labels, and check the text scaling, form labels, and yeah. If I go to the code here, so if you see, yeah, so basically this is what it is more dependent on. If we provide some good examples and bad examples here, it should be able to like give better results. But yeah, that's something needs to be improved. I didn't try ChatGPT, but I felt like when I was trying these things, I feel like ChatGPT's responses were much better for some reason. But yeah, there definitely can be more things done with it. So yeah, I just wanted to quickly show how having something like this in the IDE, like for Flutter, I looked into it for other frameworks. There are similar like chatbots are being developed that can be plugins and extensions that can be integrated into the IDEs, which are doing quite good in terms of like suggesting or replacing the code with the corrected code. But if something like this, like it definitely needs a lot more improvement. It's just an example, and to give you an overview of how we can like utilize Gen AI to efficiently code and write more accessible code, because it has more data and we won't have to go through that much information by ourselves, and we can utilize its capabilities and make this process a lot more faster. So yeah, just to give you an overview, let me go back to the slides. So things didn't go that well for the demo, but yeah, that was Gemini's problem, not mine. So yeah, so what are pros and cons of using generative AI in accessibility? I would say it does like improve efficiency. It does speed up the process, and for somebody who is looking to just improve the quality of their code, and they also have some information, like they know about some standards and guidelines, they are aware of it, it will definitely just improve the process, speeds up the process, and enhanced accessibility. So yeah, it will make your code more accessible. Consistency and standardization. So as you saw from their responses, they can access the latest accessibility standards. So using something like this can definitely make your code more consistent. A couple of cons as well, because with AI we cannot trust it for everything. We need a human eye for everything. So in terms of quality, it definitely needs a human eye. And ethical and legal issues can also be there. With AI, there can be biases and those kind of things as well. So that's one issue. And complexity and limitations, it does have some limitation. It needs data from your end. It needs correct data to be trained upon to perform better. So those are some of the cons and the pros. To conclude, I would say for people without disabilities, technology makes things easier, but for people with disabilities, technology makes things possible. So as developers, I feel it's our responsibility to make things possible for people with disabilities and for everyone in the world. So that's just a quick overview of how we can utilize the current technology and generative AI in accessibility, and I hope there will be more work on it. And if you're interested in working on something like this, definitely reach out to me. And that was all for this quick talk and quick overview on Gen AI and accessibility. Yeah, arigato gozaimasu and dhanyawad. You can connect with me on Twitter. My handle is coder_Jedi, and reach out to me if you're interested, and let's talk more about accessibility because it's very important. Yeah, arigato gozaimasu.
Thank you very much for the insightful session. So let's give a round of applause to Akanksha again. So we will now take a 15 minutes break. During the break, you can go to the Ask the Speaker corner and feel free to go to the sponsor booth as well. Next session is going to start 2:40. Thank you.